The Maxus T90EV, the first electric pickup in the UK, and it's got a 220 mile range. But the one thing you want to know is how far that range will get you when you're fully loaded, or at least half a load. So what we're going to do is chuck the lawnmower in the back, then go to home base and see what we can find, stone, sand, and then see how much it affects range. And then we're going to head up to Oxon Park and take this green laning. And don't forget about Lindale Hill. Now that's a challenge for pretty much any vehicle. Now this retails for just under 50 grand. It stands about 40 centimetres off the ground. Now at the rear it's a different matter. It's got the diff, the electric motor and all that kind of thing. We will be watching that when off-roading. It's got a 1500 kilogram towing limit, which is with a brake trailer, and also you can carry a ton on the bed, but not simultaneously. It's not all-wheel drive, but it's got a decent ride height, and if you chuck a bit of weight in and go, say, green laning or doing some like farm tasks, well, you shouldn't have much problem. And look, yeah, proper tow bar and a step, which makes it easier to load things. So this is an option. Tailgate. Not the heaviest, which is good news, but it isn't soft opening. But these are pretty sturdy. Now always remember, when you're putting something like this in, to tether it. That in mind, you've got 4 points. You can pull the truck with them. I think this will be around 40 kilos, so that's interesting. We've not got a bed liner in this, but it has been painted with like a hammerite style paint, so nice and robust. Yeah, proper tethered. Onward.
One thing I'd have liked to have seen is either a grab handle or another grab handle here that you find in pickups on the driver's side.
As it's an electric vehicle, we've got 2 pedals and a key. Yeah, there's not many electric vehicles with a key, but it makes sense when it was converted from a diesel truck. Now there is no park, but you've got reverse, neutral and drive. So to put in drive, do that. Driving modes, power, normal and eco. So I'm going to put it in eco. Quite an impressive turning circle. So we've got 75 miles of range. Straightforward cluster. On the left hand side you can see when it's charging and you can see when it's drawing power. The other thing I like is you've got an old school, I suppose it's like a petrol gauge, but it's just got battery symbols on it instead. Fuel computer in the middle, and you can see things like your voltage, motor speed, and of course your range. And you control that using this stalk. Now the one thing that is missing is a DAB radio.
But the thing is you've got Apple CarPlay. You can just like plug something in and away you go.
Everybody wonders why this pickup is making an electric noise, because nobody's seen one yet.
It certainly turned heads when we took it out yesterday, didn't it?
It did. I've got an 88 kilowatt battery or thereabouts, and we're 3 up in the cab. And yes, it is only rear wheel drive, but don't let that put you off. It's still rather capable, and with the ride height, you can do far more than you'd expect to. So when you get up to speed, the electric noise does quieten down. Now there are no paddles for changing regen. It's all done through the driving modes, but you can feel it. I think the regen might actually be the same. It's nice and quiet. If you've noticed, we've got the wind deflectors. Now they're an optional extra. There's also a wind deflector at the front as well.
It's rather natty, isn't it? Yes. Or wind defenders, as I keep calling them.
It's like something from Marvel.
So it's almost going at 1.5 miles to a mile then, really?
I think it's going to be better than that, actually. Like with any electric vehicle, the key is to almost feather the accelerator. Use the power when you need it. Feels nice and stable, composed. Now, if you've not got weight in the back, you will feel it, especially at higher speeds. But at normal speed, perfectly fine. I've also noticed when you put your foot down from standstill, even in power mode, it seems to hold it back, so you won't just sit there and wheel spin. So we've used 6 miles of range now, but I think because I've been going back and forth through the driving modes, it's trying to find an equilibrium. I'm just glad it's a 4-cab. It'll be interesting to see if we see any single cabs.
Well, that's it. Now that this is actually on the market, it's going to be interesting to see the evolution of it.
Yeah. When one manufacturer releases something, the others, well, get a bit of a boot on, don't they, and go, actually we better get something electric, hybrid, whatever into the market. It might make manufacturers stand up and take note, to be honest, which is only a good thing. Pleasant to drive. Strange not to see a leather steering wheel. Thing is, the pickup has to be robust.
Easy to keep clean then.
Yeah. Good strong build quality as well, because you don't want everything rattling. The sound's ramped up again. I do like that. That'll make it far safer on places like building sites. 3 up and the lawnmower, I can't tell there's any weight in it whatsoever. Feels exactly the same as when it's with one person, to be honest. Now that, it'll be interesting to see if it changes when we load it up. Oh look, Maxus!
Easy to clean, easy to maintain. Exactly what you're looking for in a pickup, really. Lots of storage, USB charging ports, cup holders, you name it.
I do like to see a storage point here as well. Perfect for butties, papers, you name it. Pretty good at launching. Best bet, drive this like you drive a pickup. Now around these bends, feels good. No, it's done exactly what I thought it would. It's now leveled out at 57, so if it shows you range initially, best bet is to just take that with a pinch of salt. Stay in the mode for say 3 or 4 miles and it will give you a far more accurate reading. Now as a base level, we've got no heaters on, the infotainment system's on, and daytime runners. I think that's about it.
The fans, so to speak, hasn't really caused any dropping.
No, it's fine. No, it's still on 57. It's just holding steady now, which is nice. Last thing you want is to get in a vehicle and it just start dropping like a flaming stone. Down to 55 miles at range, but to be perfectly frank, it didn't sort itself out until we got to Carnforth. So in that, say, 6 miles, it's used 3 to 4, which is far more efficient than the first part of the journey. So the only thing I can put it down to is the calibration's not as quick as it could be. Let's go shopping for some gravel. £4.50, 20mm gravel. 50 quid's worth. Okay. Right. So I'm reckoning that's about 350 kilos. It'll be interesting to see how this affects range, because it's certainly affected my range. I'm glad to see it's still in eco.
And how much range have we got? We've still got the 55 miles. Excellent.
We have. Good to see we've got parking sensors on the rear and a reversing camera. It's not the highest quality, but it does the job. Well, it certainly feels more sure-footed. That's always the case with a pickup when you put a load on the back. In case you're wondering what we're doing next, we're going to charge. So this will Type 2, home charge and rapid charge. But if you do want a home charger, that's an optional extra. But you do get a Type 2, and I think it's about 5 meters. Well, we've decided to rapid charge. The Type 2s aren't playing ball, and I have no clue why. The thing with the rapid is, it plugs in, works. The problem is, it is 79p kilowatt hour. And we're off. Shows it's connected and charging. There is no Maxus T90EV app as yet. Hopefully we'll see one in the future. So this is how we'll keep track. Voila! Okay, let's turn the key and see what we've got. 129 miles. Almost at half a tank. And that took about 45 minutes and cost us around 30 quid. Yeah, electric's not cheap currently. Yeah, we'll put some fans on for a bit, just to demist. There's quickly.
It was interesting to see that it dropped 2 miles when I put the fans on to demist the windows, and it went back up to 129 when I turned the fan off.
For some reason the passenger's seat seems to be a touch lower, but they're both electric, so that's good. Another thing that's missing is reach. So you can adjust the height but not the reach of the steering. We dropped 1 mile. Can't tell the weights in the back, so that's good news for, say, if you're a gardener, you've got a lawnmower, strimmer, bits of wood. Holding on to its range. We've got a decent profile, so it does make it good on-road and off-road.
Well, that's the kind of versatility you want with a pickup, isn't it?
Yeah, it needs to be comfortable for long hauls, but it also needs to be, well, do the job of a pickup. To be perfectly honest, if I was driving this regularly, I'd just keep it in eco. You get the best out of the range, and it means that you can use your heaters, things like that. And it's enough power. So lights have just kicked in. And in general, travelling at 40 miles an hour, I'm getting mile for mile. Still holding on to 124 miles of range. No, I'm quite impressed with the economy. That's the other thing about this. It looks aggressive. It looks like a proper pickup. From first looks, there's no way you'd be able to tell it's an EV. Average consumption, 48.2 kilowatt hour per 100 mile. But I suspect you could probably get that up a fair bit. On the instantaneous, keeping my pedal like this, it's 96.
For now, we're going to drop off the mower, aren't we?
But it's first electric pickup you've seen, isn't it?
I know, I was just saying it.
You're right getting it?
Yeah, I get it.
Great visibility throughout. You've got a really commanding position. Joining A roads and motorways just isn't a problem. And if you don't think you're going fast enough, just hit power and that transforms it, like I mentioned. Now it's time to address the elephant in the room. No 4x4. And you can see there was one, but before you start saying, well, why is it not in this? Well, it's because that was actually in the diesel pickup. But rest assured, there is one coming. But to be honest, the rear wheel drive feels rather sure-footed. Capable off-road. As you'll see, about 45 miles an hour in eco, we're getting about 1.5 miles per mile. That's pretty good, isn't it?
As I said, yeah, especially in this weather, that's really good. Once the gasometer is actually calibrated what we're doing and what speed we're travelling
Pretty
at,
accurate.
It's kind of spot on.
Yeah.
Which is what you need, because that just eliminates any kind of range anxiety.
The other thing is, it's best not to brake, so coming up to that bend then, it gave you enough regen to just back off and you could just let the vehicle creep round. So we've picked up to 60 miles an hour, a bit of tyre noise, and I think I can hear a little bit of wind noise, but it's not excessive. But if you look at the state of this dual carriageway, it makes sense. Even on this breezy, blustery, wet day, it's not blowing around. That's partly because of the load in the back. But bear in mind, it's only about 1/3 of a tonne, so it won't do that much. But at motorway speeds, it does feel well planted. It is starting to slow down a bit. So I'll put my foot down a little more. So we can crawl up here at 55. Let's see what happens if we hit power. Okay, we're back up to 60 rather quickly. It's now accelerating up the hill.
And it's this big hill. It's really not got a problem in power mode, is it?
No, it really hasn't.
And you could feel that.
And yeah, okay, it's used about 1.5 miles to 2 miles doing that boost.
It's not like it's dropped 10 or 12, is it?
Well, that's it. When you've got 220 miles of range, you're not bothered about using that just to get up a hill.
No.
Because the bottom line is, if you're in eco, it will throttle you down quite noticeably. So it's rather economical in eco. Put it in power, and obviously it's not as economical, but it'll get you out of trouble and you can fly up hills. You've got the best of both worlds. The steering's nice and responsive. It's weighty when it needs to be. Great on A roads. Equally as good on, say, a motorway. It gives good feedback and it's nice and direct. Just feels like a pickup, to be honest, and that's what you want. Nice to see you've got an old school handbrake and it does have hill start assist.
Well, that's going to really come in handy when we go off-roading, isn't it?
Let's undertake our first foray onto a muddy track and see how it copes. Oh, no problem clambering. Not wheel spinning.
Not at all.
It's a power down nice and efficiently. We are in eco mode, by the way. Well, this will be a first electric pickup at Oxon Park. Ah, it just puts a big grin on your face. Wow. Pretty capable, this electric pickup. Wow.
And now for something a little different. This is the first pickup I've taken up here that doesn't have all-wheel drive. But we do have all that gravel in the back and that's going to help with grip. Let's see how she handles.
The thing about an electric powertrain is, when it comes to climbing things like this, which doesn't look that much, unless I come around here, that's about maybe a foot. Because of the power, it just pulls it over. Meaning even with rear wheel drive, it'll walk something like this.
We did have a bit of wheel slippage, but considering road tyres, fantastic. Did it with ease. Give it the chance, it'll just pull and pull and pull. It can pull for England, basically.
Nearly got me then.
I almost did, didn't I? And we're getting about 1.5 miles for a mile in terms of range.
Perfect. So you've got an idea, this is actually quite steep and rocky, and this just literally walked it. Obviously you have to walk it over some of the stones, especially with that rear section. It's not bad for off-roading, is it? The final hurdle.
And then it's time to head home for a cup of tea.
It is. Well, I think that did quite well, to be honest. The bottom line is, if you drive it efficiently, it'll do a damn good job.